and welcome. Tonight, Governor Caleb Mutfwang remains defiant against terror, vows that Plateau State will never surrender to fear or intimidation sparked by the deadly Agwen Rukuba assault. The Senate mandates the Inspector General of Police to spearhead a comprehensive investigation into the brutal killings that recently devastated the Agwen Rukuba community. Defense headquarters promises to secure Horizon, a strategic synergy with the United States military intensifies to deliver tangible stability across Nigeria's security landscape. And President Donald Trump issues a blunt ultimatum to the United Kingdom and global allies, demanding they secure their own oil shipments through the volatile Straits of Hormuz.
And on business, Zenith Bank leads $4 billion deal for Dangote refinery, committing $2.5 billion to strengthen operations and support expansion.
On sports news tonight, Tottenham Hotspur appoint Roberto De Zerbi as their third head coach of the season on a 5-year contract.
And from the nation's capital, Governor of Bauchi State, Bala Mohammed, holds talks with African Democratic Congress over his potential defection to the party. We begin tonight with a firm decision. The people of Plateau State will not bow to terror. And that's coming from the governor of the state, Caleb Mutfwang, following the recent killings by gunmen in Agwen Rukuba district in Jos, the state capital. The governor, who is sharing in the grief of residents currently in mourning, insists that Plateau State will not succumb to fear or intimidation. In a statewide broadcast on Monday, an emotional Mutfwang reassured the people that the state will rise above the tragedy and remain united in the face of adversity. Describing the attack as senseless, the governor says that the victims were law-abiding citizens who were caught off guard.
We share deeply in the grief of the bereaved families and pray that the Almighty God grants them and the state the strength, comfort, and grace to bear this painful loss. Plateau State will not succumb to fear or intimidation. We shall emerge stronger, united, and resolute in our faith and commitment to peace. We must deploy every available resource to defend our people, protect lives and property, and safeguard the territorial integrity of our state. Plateau shall remain strong and peaceful. Following the incident, the government took swift and decisive measures to restore order and prevent further escalation. In collaboration with security agencies, a 48-hour curfew was imposed on Jos North local government area, effective from midnight on Sunday 29 March to 1st April 2026. I wish to assure all affected families that the Plateau State government will take full responsibility for the medical expenses of the injured. Rest assured, we stand firmly with you and shall continue to provide the necessary support. The government will also engage closely with the families of the deceased, community leaders and stakeholders to ensure dignified burials for the victims, as well as provide support for their dependents. We are committed to ensuring that all those involved in this heinous act are swiftly brought to justice and prosecuted accordingly. This time, we shall pursue the cause of justice to its logical conclusion to ensure closure for the victims. I urge community leaders, youth groups, religious leaders, and all stakeholders to partner with government in promoting dialogue, tolerance, and mutual respect. Together, we will overcome these challenges and build a more peaceful, secure, united, and prosperous Plateau State.
Meanwhile, the Minister of Information and National Orientation, Mohammed Idris, has confirmed that President Bola Tinubu met with top security officials to review the recent killings in Plateau State. He also confirmed that the president has invited Governor Caleb Mutfwang to Abuja to discuss the issue in a meeting that aims to assess the situation and implement decisive measures towards a lasting solution. The minister announced this during a media briefing in Abuja, describing the attack as a criminal act and not a breakdown of law and order.
A few hours ago, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has held a high-level meeting with the nation's top security and intelligence chiefs to review the situation in Plateau State and in other areas and take further decisive steps towards arriving at a lasting solution. Following this meeting, the Executive Governor of Plateau State, His Excellency Caleb Manasseh Mutfwang, has been invited by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu to Abuja to chart a coordinated path towards lasting peace and security. The outcome of the meeting between President Bola Ahmed Tinubu and Governor Mutfwang will be made public in due course. These actions underscore the seriousness with which the federal government is treating this matter and its firm commitment to ensuring that all necessary actions are taken promptly and effectively.
And as reactions continue to trail the senseless killing in Plateau State, the Senate has directed the Inspector General of Police to launch a full-scale investigation into the killing of innocent residents in Agwan Rukuba. The lawmakers called for the perpetrators to be apprehended and prosecuted. The upper chamber also resolved to send a high-powered delegation led by the Senate President to the affected communities to commiserate with the victims and the people of the state. The resolution followed a motion moved by Senator Diket Plank, who represents Plateau Central, and Senator Dachum Mwankon, who represents Plateau North, raised urgent concerns over the deteriorating situation in Kanam and Jos North local government areas. The lawmaker expressed concern over the increasingly complex nature of the crisis. They also called for increased recruitments in the Nigeria police force and the military to address manpower shortage. As part of its resolutions, the Senate also observed a minute of silence in honor of the victims, asking the Federal Ministry of Humanitarian Affairs to provide relief materials, including food, medical supplies, and shelter to the displaced persons. And staying with security matters, the Defense Headquarters is assuring Nigerians that the ongoing collaboration with the United States military will soon begin to yield measurable improvements in the country's security situation. Addressing journalists in Abuja, military end-of-the-month briefing, the Director, Defense Media Operations, Major General Michael Onoja, says the U.S. support to Nigeria's operations has been very significant, especially in areas of intelligence sharing and training, noting that the assistance is being provided on favorable terms to strengthen ongoing counter-terrorism operations.
Troops of Operation Hardin Kai sustained aggressive and unrelenting kinetic campaigns against remnants of Boko Haram, the Islamic State West African province, to be known henceforth as ISWAP, and the Jama'atu Ali Sunnah leader Wati Wal Jihad, to be known as JAS, across Borno, Adamawa, Bauchi, Taraba, and Gombe states. No, go back on the slide now. Operations during the quarter were bolstered by aerial reconnaissance, air interdiction missions, and close air support, which targeted insurgent strongholds in remote and border regions. Troops during the quarter neutralized several terrorist leaders and scores of fighters, arrested 274 suspects, rescued 168 kidnapped victims, and facilitated the surrender of 90 insurgents and their families. In the month of March 2026, troops neutralized scores of terrorists, arrested over 20 suspects, and rescued 24 kidnapped victims.
And now to the National Assembly, which has passed 68.3 trillion naira as a 2026 appropriation bill after approving a request by President Bola Tinubu for an increase of 9 trillion naira to the budget to raise the total budget from 58.4 trillion naira. This request was conveyed in a letter read on the floor of the Senate and the House of Representatives at the resumption of plenary today. And according to President Tinubu, the proposed adjustments based on 3 key objectives aimed at strengthening fiscal transparency and ensuring the effective implementation of priority national projects among various sectors. Our National Assembly correspondent Gloria Umezoke reports.
Distinguished colleagues,
after a 2-week break, federal lawmakers are back in both chambers of the National Assembly.
I hereby transmit.
The lawmakers pick up the day's proceedings with a request by President Bola Tinubu seeking an increase in the 2026 budget appropriation bill.
Transmission of proposed adjustments to the 2026 appropriation bill and the associated financing plan, comprising 7.7 trillion naira in legacy capital regularization and 1.3 trillion in additional strategic provisions.
The committee further observed that the adjustment to the 2026 budget estimate will enable the full implementation of outstanding obligation under the 2025 capital budget during the 2026 fiscal year. Fundamentally, many critical sectors of the economy are given priority in the additional 9 trillion adjustment.
So we hope, with all the support we give Mr. President for all these requests, loans and other things, we hope these laudable projects proposed in 2026 will be fully implemented.
A similar request is before the House of Representatives.
The 2026 budget theme, budget of consolidation, renewal, resilience and shared prosperity, reflects the executive determination to log in macroeconomic stability, deepening opportunities and ensure that growth translates into decent jobs, raising incomes and better quality of life across our federation.
Both chambers approved the president's request.
For the year ending on the 31st day of December 2026, bill read for the 3rd time and passed.
The new 68.3 trillion naira 2026 budget, which comprised 4.7 trillion naira for statutory, 15.8 trillion naira for debt servicing, 15.4 trillion naira for recurrent expenditure, and 32.2 trillion naira for capital expenditure, is subsequently passed. Back in the red chamber, the Senate president announces a fresh request by President Tinubu for a $6.9 trillion external loan. The House of Representatives also have a similar request, and in harmony with the Senate, the requests are approved by the lawmakers.
I pray that this loan, when drawn down, will assist us to secure the Tinkan port and the Apapa port, rehabilitate, restructure, and reconstruct to make Nigeria a better destination for shippers, so that most goods will stop going to other ports, including Courtroom, so thereby creating a lot of jobs for Nigerians and also enhancing the Nigerian economy.
Since 2025, the National Assembly has made about 5 additional foreign loan approvals, including July 2025, an additional $347 million requested for the 2025 to 2026 borrowing plan. October 2025, a $2.347 billion to part finance 2025 budget deficit and refinance Eurobonds, and March 2026, $6.9 billion, as well as a 1.15 trillion naira domestic loan to bridge the 2025 budget funding gap after appropriation adjustments. Meanwhile, the Senate has approved an amendment to the 2025 Appropriation Act, extending the capital components of the Act from March 31st, 2026 to June 30, 2026. The approval, according to the Senate President, is to give the executive the latitude to ensure adequate implementation of the 2025 budget. From the National Assembly, Gloria Umezuki, Channels Television News.
In part two, after the break, the Federal High Court sitting in Kaduna State adjourns proceedings in the bail application of former Governor of Kaduna State, Nasir El-Rufai, to March the 31st, 2026. Please join us again. Welcome back. If you've just joined us, you're watching the news at 10 on Channels Television, broadcasting live from Lagos. A reminder of our main stories. Governor Caleb Mutfwang says he is against terror. Plateau State vows that the state will never surrender to fear or intimidation sparked by the deadly Awan-Rukuba assault. Senate mandates the Inspector General of Police to spearhead a comprehensive investigation into the brutal killings that recently devastated the Plateau community. Defense Headquarters promises to secure Horizon, a strategic synergy with the United States military intensifies to deliver tangible stability across the Nigeria security landscape. And President Donald Trump issues a blunt ultimatum to the UK and global allies demanding they secure their own oil shipments through the volatile Straits of Hormuz. Let's shift gears now as we head to the nation's capital, Abuja, where Gloria Omezoke is standing by for more on the news at 10. Hello, Gloria.
Thank you, Anne. Now we begin in Bauchi State, where Governor Bala Mohammed has held talks with the African Democratic Congress, ADC, over his potential defection to the party. The talks followed a visit by a delegation from the party to Bauchi State, led by the National Vice Chairman, Northeast, Mr. Babachir Lawal. Other members of the delegation include Mr. Lawan Batagarawa, Tunde Ogbeha, and Abubakar Sadiq Yeredua. Addressing journalists after the meeting, which was held at Ramat House in Bauchi, Mr. Lawal said the delegation is visiting at the instance of the party's national chairman, Mr. David Mark, to woo Governor Mohammed into joining the ADC, citing his strong opposition credentials against the ruling party.
We are aware that if we make a mistake and allow this government to continue post 2027, Nigeria will probably be no more as we know it. But then we probably will be packing people of starvation in trailers. But then we'll be packing people in trailers who are unable to afford medical services and everything. And the insurgency will get to the level that they'll be moving from bedroom to bedroom, harassing and killing and maiming people. So with this in mind, the Senator David Mark sent us to seek to speak to the Kauram Bauchi to join the ADC because he's a noted fighter, he's a warrior, he's fearless, and his energies will contribute to what we already have in ADC. And so that's why we are here. We've had very fruitful discussions in a very friendly, brotherly manner. We understand the task before every Nigerian and the task before Kauram Bauchi as a governor, that when he joins ADC will be one of our field commanders.
Responding, Governor Mohammed says that the ADC appears to be a preferred destination after exploring all avenues for reconciliation within the People's Democratic Party, as well as considering options in other parties. He hinted that a formal announcement could be made on Thursday, adding that he is unlikely to move alone, as other PDP leaders are also expected to join him after due consultations.
That we cannot be where we are not wanted. We have to find a place within the opposition. That is where our fate and political destiny is taking us to. And ADC appears to be a very enduring and, of course, luring and more acceptable platform by the people that are talking to me so far. But because I'm managing two constituencies, Bauchi and the Federation, We will try. If we are doing something, we do well. If we are doing well, we have to come together with all the parties, all the interests in the PDP at the national and subnational level. And that is why our discussion has taken long. But really, we have told them we are amenable to joining them if certain things and conditions and negotiations are concluded, as well as other parties that we are looking for. But as of now, I think they are our preferred destination, but we have not concluded in a manner that we have to deepen stakeholding and collaboration so that we don't make mistakes. We are very conscious of the timeline. Everything will be concluded by Thursday so that we'll be able to be on the same page and not to exclude ourselves from participation. And so you will hear a firm commitment from us by Thursday when we would have met in Abuja with all the parties. I said I have to carry everybody along. Regarding...
And over to Kaduna, where the State High Court has adjourned hearing of the bill application of former Kaduna State Governor Nasir El-Rufai to April 1st, 2026. Mr. El-Rufai appeared before the court over allegations bordering on corruption leveled against him by the Independent Corrupt Practices and other related offences. During today's proceedings, the Defence Counsel, Upon Akpan, filed a motion requesting that the presiding judge, Justice Rilwan Aikawa, recuse himself from the case, citing alleged bias and a pending petition against him. The defence later filed another motion seeking to withdraw that same application for recusal. The court was unable to proceed with the bill hearing as scheduled because the prosecution had only just submitted its counter-affidavit in response to the bill application. A similar case filed by ICPC at the Kaduna State High Court against El-Rufai was also adjourned to April 10 for further proceedings. Meanwhile, Nasir El-Rufai has withdrawn his fundamental rights enforcement suit against a chief magistrate at the FCT Magistrates Court named as second defendant in the 1 billion naira case. Counsel to the former Governor Ogochukwu Naku informed Justice Joyce Abdul-Malik of the Federal High Court Abuja shortly after the case was called to hear his motion ex parte. The withdrawal followed Justice Abdul-Malik's observation when the matter was heard. The judge picked holes in the suit for failure to specify the magistrate who was sued as second defendant. Mr. Naku then sought an adjournment to properly identify the name of the magistrate being used. We're still ahead on the news at 10. Zenith Bank leads a $4 billion deal for Dangote refinery, committing $2.5 billion to strengthen operations and support expansion. That's on Business News. Just join us again. Welcome back. Still watching the news at 10, coming to you live on Channels Television. Over to Edo State, where panic broke out at the Federal High Court in Benin City after a female defendant collapsed and died during proceedings. The woman standing trial in a case filed by the NDLEA had reportedly been in detention for about 3 months and appeared visibly weak in court. She was first arraigned on a day earlier and asked to present a medical report, which she could not provide, before being rearranged on Tuesday, March 31. Eyewitnesses say despite her deteriorating condition, court proceedings continued. Moments after her case was called, she suddenly slumped, triggering panic among lawyers, court staff and litigants. Attempts to revive her were unsuccessful with the absence of immediate medical facilities worsening this situation. She was later confirmed dead. The court subsequently adjourned all remaining cases for the day in her honor, while her body was moved to a mortuary. The NDLEA in Edo State has yet to issue an official statement, though sources suggest an internal investigation may be underway. To company news, now Zenith Bank achieves another milestone with the launch of the Visa Signature Card.
Today is a significant day at Zenith Bank, with top management led by the Group Managing Director, gathering in the corporate boardroom. It's a meeting to launch the Visa signature card in partnership with Visa. And who better to commence proceedings than the GMD herself?
We have strategically partnered with Visa for the launch of this product, and we sincerely appreciate the Visa team for the development of this product, which is designed to provide seamless and secure local and international payments, offer world-class travel privileges, deliver personalized concierge services, protect against online shopping fraud and social engineering risk, among many others, and all anchored on the trusted Zenith Bank brand.
What is the story behind the Visa signature card, and why did the collaboration with Zenith Bank occur? The management of Visa discusses this and the benefits.
The card is designed for affluent customers. It offers access to digitally global premium programs, travel programs, concierge services, hospitality packages, and many, many other exclusive offers that can be enjoyed as a result of this card. The launch reflects Zenith Bank moving with the times and the needs of its aspirational and growing affluent customer base.
In essence, this card represents more than a collection of features. It is a gateway to a more elevated way of living, one that supports the aspirations and lifestyle of today's sophisticated customer.
The highlight is the official unveiling of the signature card by the Group Managing Director, Dr. Umeoji, alongside the Senior Vice President and Group Country Manager, Central and West Africa Visa, Aminata Kane.
Distinguished ladies and gentlemen, here's Visa's signature card. The card has been officially launched, and here's the card to say.
But how does the partnership shape the future of digital payments in Nigeria?
What this card also able to do with our partnership with Zenith Bank is that we can tokenize that card. We can bring it into the mobile app of the Zenith Bank customer, so whereby they don't even have to have the physical card on them. With this plastic, with this virtual version of this card, they can go anywhere in the world, transact, and still gain access to the benefits that the plastic will give to them.
With the deal concluded, Zenith Bank states that Visa signature card holders should prepare for unforgettable treats.
And that's it from the nation's capital. It's over now to you, and for more on the news at 10. Thank you, Gloria. And now the Minister of Interior, Mr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, says that Nigerian government will not allow for the transfer of foreign criminals to Nigeria. Speaking on our political program, Politics Today, Mr. Tunji-Ojo denies reports suggesting that the recent migration agreement signed by Nigeria and the United Kingdom will tolerate the UK government to transfer criminals seeking asylum in the country to Nigeria.
There's nothing that government is actually hiding. The scope of the agreement is very simple. The scope of this MOU is to establish a framework for facilitating a regulated and safe migration flow between parties, that is the United Kingdom and Nigeria, and to encourage further bilateral cooperation in the fight against irregular migration and associated acts of each party's citizens in accordance with their respective immigration and citizenship laws and extant international treaties, conventions, protocols, agreements, and charters. The parties will be guided by the provision of this MOU in the way and manner in which they cooperate on migration matters in their territories. The party will afford each other mutual assistance on migration matters on the terms set out in this MOU. The parties will work together to secure the dignified return of their nationals who do not or who no longer have the right to enter or remain in the territory of other parties. I've seen some things in the media where some people are saying they want to go and bring prisoners from all over the world and dump in Nigeria. This government will not tolerate something. There's no way this government under this president will sign that sort of agreement. It's never going to be done. What this agreement talks about are Nigerians who are overstayers or who are out of status in the United Kingdom. So what we are saying is we have to collaborate, because when you solve the problem of irregular migration, you solve the problem of human trafficking, you solve the problem of smuggling, you solve some of these.
There is need for sustained capacity building in Nigeria's oil and gas sector, with training initiatives to equip both technical and non-technical professionals. And that's coming from the chairman of Lapis Nigeria Limited, Dr. Femi Bajamo. Speaking during an oil and gas development training organized by his firm, Dr. Bajamo says despite global energy transition efforts, oil and gas are critical to global supply.
Nigeria, of course, we don't have to go through Strait of Hormuz to supply to deliver any of our crude. We can easily go round through Cape Town. So it's a great opportunity that Nigeria can seize on to make sure that at least we can fill some of the void that is actually, that has developed because of the issue of Strait of Hormuz that is choked. So Nigeria should brace up, develop and produce as much as possible, because it's a very short window. So we have to make sure that we are ready anytime such a thing happens to be able to take the advantage of whatever is happening in terms of oil prices and coal.
The question would be, what would be...
And on his part, an energy expert, Layi Fatono, believes that while the Middle East crisis is a major disruption in global supply, Nigeria needs to use this opportunity to maximize emerging investment opportunities.
Remember that, or you must be aware of the fact that today things seems to be on the positive swing. We're not dealing with too many problems. And if we can just get our acts together, enhance our production, improve on safety, security, attract a little bit more capital, use and encourage more of Nigerian resources, human capital, like I said earlier on, even financial capital, it can only be better for us.
Lafarge Africa PLC, one of the renowned building solutions manufacturer known for creating a greener planet through innovation and operational excellence, has recognized persons with disabilities who participated in its Disability to Ability program in Lagos. The 8-week training, which was created in partnership with relevant arms of Lagos State government, has equipped 100 persons with disabilities with market-relevant vocational and entrepreneurial skills that serve as pathway to employment, business development, and long-term self-reliance.
This is the Lafarge Africa Disability to Ability 2025 cohort graduation ceremony. It is a culmination of intensive training facilitated by the company with support from Lagos State Employment Trust Fund, the Lagos State Ministry of Youth and Social Development, and the Lagos State Office for Disability Affairs. In his welcome address, the Group Managing Director and Chief Executive Officer of Lafarge Africa PLC, Lulu Alade Akinyemi, thanked the participants and speaks further on what the day represents.
I want to say to you today that you need to be very proud of yourself for your willingness to participate in this program. As we celebrate this milestone, I encourage each of us to become ambassadors of inclusion, because a truly sustainable society is one where no one is left behind.
This graduation goes beyond acquisition of knowledge, but that of relevant skills, which is a direct result of public and private partnership in advancing sustainable human capital development, especially for those with incapacities.
As we celebrate this graduation today, we are reminded that inclusion is not a one-time thing. It is a continuous commitment to create spaces where everyone has the opportunity to participate, contribute, and succeed.
There's power in partnerships. No man is an island. Nobody can do it by themselves. So the 100 of you, there is nothing stopping you from starting to form partnerships as you are here.
We are from the makeup
Beneficiaries who have been trained in shoe and bag making, wig and braids making, makeup and gele, as well as phone and laptop repairs, express appreciation to the sponsors for giving them the opportunity to be productive.
I would like to say a very big thank you to Lafarge, LSCTF and LASODA for giving us this huge opportunity and to making us become one of the proud disability person.
Lafarge saw us and see potential. Didn't see that these people but they actually believe in us.
It's important that all of the tools that have been provided by Lafarge and all the trainings that have been provided by Lagos State as well, that they can actually take it up to make a difference in their communities.
This is an incredible gesture of support.
Lafarge Africa PLC says this initiative is a reflection of its commitment to inclusivity, empowerment and sustainable livelihoods. As the beneficiaries step out, they are better equipped with skills, knowledge and toolkits to make a viable living and become productive members of the society.
Now let's remain in the world of business. Let's head over to Will Ibong now, who's standing by to bring us more.
Thank you, Anne. The African Export-Import Bank, Afrexim, has led a $4 billion financing deal for the Dangote petroleum refinery and petrochemicals, committing $2.5 billion as the largest lender in the syndicate. And the 5-year facility will refinance existing debt and strengthen the refinery's capital structure as it scales operations at its 650,000 barrels per day capacity. Leaders at Afrexim Bank and the Dangote Group say the funding reflects strong investor confidence and will support energy security, reduce import dependence, and drive industrial growth across Africa. Now, as the U.S.-Israel conflict with Iran enters its 5th week, concerns grow that the 32-day war may drag on, with economic effects lasting even if a ceasefire is reached. On our Business Morning program, CEO of Financial Derivatives Company, Mr. Bismarck Rouhani, offered short-term recommendations for the government to maximize opportunities in the country's oil sector.
If, let us say, for sake of argument, that government revenues were estimated at, say, 25 trillion, and now it goes all the way to 40 trillion. How are you going to recycle this 40 trillion so it goes back to the consumers who are paying more? So there has to be an arrangement. The federal government of Nigeria has to sit down with the refiners, Dangote modular refineries, and say, okay, fine, we are going to give you crude oil at this price, provided you bring down the price of finished products. So in other words, we are going back to providing subsidies, but subsidies to the producers who can pass it on efficiently to the consumers, so it is not abused. You have to do that in the short term. You got to provide succor to the people in the short term, because as you can see from these slides here, commodity prices have been flat. Why? Because people are waiting to price it. They don't want to go up in price and lose market share. People are waiting to price effectively to put the economy and their markets into equilibrium. And that has to be done immediately.
Now, that was checking with the domestic equities markets, which rebounded in the last trading day of March. Laddie Williams tells us more.
Hello and welcome to the Stock Market Report. And just like that, the first quarter trading of 2026, that ends tonight. All share index 201,000. The NGX maintains its level 0.40% higher. Market cap 129. We'll leave it there for now. Banking is down today for the sectors that we track. In fact, is the lone loser for these sectors. Most of the tier 1 banks, they're down big today. And it's funny how that's happening on the deadline of recapitalization. Maybe it's a sell the news event happening today. Consumer goods 0.24% higher, and 8 basis points higher for the that's for the oil and gas counter. So looking at it so far, let's take stock now. When other indexes entered correction in the month of March, We see the bulls right here on Custom Street, taking the NGX up 4.4% month to date, and quarter to date, 29.4%. So it's good right here. I'll see you in the second quarter trade.
Thank you, Ladi. Let's see today's closing performance for other major global equities. And that's business news. I'm Will Ibong. It's back to you, Anne.
Thank you, Will. Let's now join Simon Pusey for more international news and around the world in 5 from our London studio.
Good evening and welcome to the channel's studios here in London with your international news around the world in 5.
And they killed and maimed more Americans than any other force in recent decades. Thousands of
Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu says the war is definitely beyond the halfway point, but later clarified that was in terms of missions, not time.
Most importantly is...
Meanwhile, a Kuwaiti oil tanker carrying millions of barrels has caught fire after being hit while docked in Dubai. Officials have blamed Iran. The 24 crew aboard are safe and the blaze is reportedly under control. New strikes are reported in Israel and Iran, with parts of Tehran losing power temporarily. Donald Trump has issued new threats to obliterate Iran's power plants, oil wells, and possibly water desalination plants if a deal is not reached shortly. Mr. Trump has also told the UK and other countries to go get your own oil from the Strait of Hormuz. Rape and sexual violence remain part of everyday life in areas of Sudan, even while fighting in the country's civil war has moved elsewhere. That's according to a new report by the medical charity Médecins Sans Frontières. Calling rape a defining feature of the conflict, it says sexual assault is overwhelmingly carried out by armed men and is often accompanied by acts of brutality and humiliation. But MSF says rape persists as an insidious part of life for communities in the western region of Darfur that are no longer on the front line. The report is the most comprehensive account yet on sexual violence in Sudan's nearly 3-year war. Israel's parliament has approved a law that could make the death penalty the default sentence for Palestinians convicted of deadly terror attacks. Critics have described the new law as discriminatory, and several European nations warn it risks undermining democratic principles. The new law passed its third and final reading in the Knesset by 62 votes to 48, with the Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu voting in favour. The bill stipulates that Palestinians convicted in Israeli military courts of carrying out deadly attacks deemed to be acts of terrorism would be executed by hanging within 90 days, with a possible postponement of up to 180 days.
Our customers.
The CEO of Air Canada will retire later this year after being criticised for failing to speak French in a condolence video following last week's fatal collision at LaGuardia Airport in New York that killed 2 pilots. Michael Rosso informed the airline that he will be stepping down at the end of the company's third quarter. Rosso had faced calls to resign after delivering his condolences in English only. He later apologised and said he was unable to express himself adequately in French. Announcing his retirement, he said, "It had been a great honour to work with the dedication and talented people of Air Canada. I look forward to supporting our company during this important transition period." The Chinese government is set to ban people from storing the cremated remains of their loved ones in empty apartments instead of paying for expensive cemetery plots. The new law will put an end to the so-called bone ash apartments, which have risen in popularity as spaces in cemeteries remain scarce. Low property prices in the country mean that, for many, it is more affordable to entomb the ashes of a relative in an empty apartment than to pay for funeral costs.
One music event.
Known for its glitzy stage costumes and outlandish performances, the Eurovision Song Contest is now launching its first ever Asia edition. Broadcasters from 10 countries in the region, including South Korea, Thailand and the Philippines, have confirmed they will be taking part. According to the contest's website, which lists the participating countries, there are more to follow. These countries will first host their own national selections before the grand finale in Bangkok, which will be broadcast live on the 14th of November. First held in 1956, Eurovision has grown into the world's longest-running international music competition. And a famously theatrical monologue given by a man as police arrested him at a Chinese restaurant in Australia has officially been preserved by the country's National Film and Sound Archive.
This is Democracy Manifest. What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
The 1991 clip of Jack Carlson's arrest in Brisbane became an internet sensation when it was rediscovered in 2009.
I see that you know your judo well.
These were among his other now immortalised phrases that have been officially recognised by the National Film and Sound Archive of Australia for their cultural significance. The moment, now known as Democracy Manifest, became one of the most viral videos in Australia's history and inspired thousands of memes, musical remixes, merchandise and even an orchestral piece.
What is the charge? Eating a meal? A succulent Chinese meal?
And that's your international news around the world in 5. Now back to the channel's studios in Lagos.
Many thanks indeed, Simon, and welcome to Sports News. Nigeria Super Eagles wrapped up their March international window with a pulsating 2-2 draw against Jordan at the Maradan Sports Complex. In the 17th minute, a well-rehearsed free-kick routine caught the Nigerian defense off guard, allowing starman Musa Tamari to fire Jordan into the lead. Moses Simon equalized for the Super Eagles, while Emmanuel Fernandez added the second goal before half-time. However, Jordan leveled up in the 77th minute to end the game in a stalemate. In the meantime, Hamburg SV winger Philip Otele is delighted to get his first Super Eagles call-up in the team's friendlies against Iran and Jordan in Antalya, Turkey. The 26-year-old, who arrived on loan from Basel in the winter transfer window, says he has always been his dream to play for the senior national team, and he's ready to add value to the men's attack. Let's turn to club football now. It's official. Tottenham have announced the appointment of Roberto De Zerbi as their third head coach of the season. The Italian man has agreed terms over a 5-year contract with Spurs, currently 1 point above Premier League's relegation, which does not include a relegation release clause. De Zerbi replaces Igor Tudor, whose interim reign at the North London club lasted just 7 games after Spurs crashed out of the Champions League and fell ever closer to dropping into the second tier. De Zerbi established a positive reputation for himself in England during a 2-year spell as a Brighton boss between 2022 and 2024. Well, that's your sports news tonight. I am Kelly Egiga, and it's back to you.
Thank you, Kelly. And the main news again. Governor Caleb Mutfwang today vowed that Plateau State will never surrender to fear or intimidation sparked by the deadly Agwen-Rukuba assault. The Senate has mandated the Inspector General of Police to spearhead a comprehensive investigation into the brutal killings that recently devastated the community in Plateau State. The Defense Headquarters has also promised to secure Horizon as strategic synergy with the United States military intensifies to deliver tangible stability across Nigeria's security landscape. And President Donald Trump has issued a blunt ultimatum to the United Kingdom and its global allies, demanding they secure their own oil shipments through the volatile Strait of Hormuz. And that's the news at 10 tonight. Thank you so much for watching. I'm Anne Nwawado. Good night and stay safe.